Go ahead.
Yeah. So where I live, there is this case for this woman called Karen Reed, and just to tell you very quickly, basically her partner was a cop, and um there was a gathering between her and then like the cop boyfriend and then like some other people, some other police at like a local bar, and then they go to like across the street to another bar, and then there's like an after party held at someone's house like a couple miles away, and then some people start to trickle in over there. And then, anyways, the Karen and then her boyfriend go. The idea is that they go over there, and then he, so later on, like wee hours of the morning, he's found dead in the snow. There was a whole bunch of snow that whole night, a whole bunch of snow, and so basically the trial that happened a month or two ago, and it lasted like over a month. Alan Jackson was in charge of defending her, and basically, he was just saying that like no, he died because of just a whole bunch of other reasons, anything but her. And let me tell you that I found out about I first heard about this thing a year ago, and then the trial actually happened. What ended up happening is he ended up successfully, him and the other team, ended up successfully defending her. Only in that the jury came out, they were bricked up, like they couldn't decide one way or another, so they're going to try to go for Karen Reed again. I don't know if Alan Jackson is involved, but in this case he did like a good job. And I bring it up to you and I describe it because, like, this wasn't a case of like child material that was used, or that it was just more like, hey, did she kill her boyfriend outside, that house, and then she didn't go to the party and she went home? Or did the boyfriend get attacked by a dog? Or like, did he had a fight in the house and then they just left him outside and made it framed her? Do you know what I mean? Like, that was how the
Yeah,
story was. And I bring that up because I had heard Alan Jackson was involved like a year ago, and I was like, oh, fuck this lady. Yeah, I don't like this at all. But to be honest, like over time, as I watched the trial and other things like that, I was leaning more on their side, or at least I was not leaning on their side per se, but I was saying that like what the outcome could, and I would say should be like in their favor. But yeah, she's not out of the woods yet, but it was interesting to see Jackson like defending, like for sure hardcore, his client, in the way that he should be within his position as his job. But it's just funny because everybody around here who was supporting her, a lot of people were supporting her and trying to have her back and like demonstrate and just look, support. They know that Alan Jackson was involved in all this other crazy shit. I don't know about La Luz del Mundo. I've never heard them and anyone say anything about La Luz del Mundo, but they know about him being involved with like Harvey Weinstein or Kevin Spacey, etc. But still, people were like on her side because the lawyer was good. And in the case of like Naason, for me, I bring this whole thing up because like we didn't get to see that, or we did, but only up to the point of the plea deal, because because even in Nason's case, Alan Jackson was just like, I literally can't fucking do anymore. Like, this is just the best that I can do. He's one of
right.
the best ones in the country, and for these sorts of things. And he was, and him in the Nason case was like, I'm not here to help you for free so I can get a little more famous and shit. You're literally gonna fucking pay me, and holy shit, you fucked up this much that I could only do this much for you. I could only prolong it, so long and stuff. Yeah, do you know what I mean here?
Yeah, I mean, he's only doing his job. He's only doing his job, and in the court system that he knows. He knows all the loops and outs of court. So
Hmm.
yeah, at some point, I didn't like this dude, and I mean, I guess it's just he has to make a living. But yeah, members should really you know, it's just very like, man, like how you said, like the government, like the members. It's funny how like the leaders move the members like a wave. Or right now we're not gonna like the government, but now we do, and now we don't, and now we do.
Hmm.
And it's and all these waves are just on how they are treated by the government. You know what I mean? Like when a song was out, when a song was visited by, I remember they put the street named after Nason, right? And like, oh, they were all on, they were all like it was all like hearts
What was the
and
street in the U.S.? I think
yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's happening in like the U.S.
And it's like, they need to look at the whole picture. It ain't just because, they quickly forget about all the good stuff that. Remember when Naason was on tour, he was visited. He would visit like cities, and then the people of the mayors or people within the city that had like special or some kind of like
Hmm.
some kind of rank within the community or the city. They would visit the his tours, and they would like congratulate him and listen to him,
Yeah.
and they would put all those pictures in their websites because it was just a way for them to make noise or look good in front of the public eye.
And they still have
But
that stuff on their website, man. Like in me researching lately, like there's actually still a bunch of Berea pages that are up there. I hope they don't go away, anytime soon. But uh they'll track like, oh yeah, this is the first leg of his tour, and here's like another leg of his tour.
yeah,
This person, this
yeah.
other person.
So, so
Mhm,
so my point is you can't just because now he's in court facing all this stuff, can't just now say like the government's after him. Like, you got to be I guess you got to be fair across the board. You got to think, learn the court system, learn how the case went, and really do they need to do these things, or else they're gonna always be controlled by the
mhm,
pastors and treating them like, you know,
mhm.
just being fed with what they want to hear, and
Yeah.
it's just, what I mean.
Another
Yeah,
thing I want to say is that one other point that I see most often is how like um for like the other day Jimmy was talking about Gerardo Ortiz, supposedly Jimmy or whatever, whoever this person is. But the other day, literally, it was like Santa Cena hours. It was a Santa Cena day. And he's just like running a live stream. I tuned in very quickly, and he's talking about how Isaias Alvarado said such and such about narco traffickers and whatever else and the church. And then he's like, man, he needs to go talk about the Catholics and their abuse and these people and these people. And here's pictures of Isaias next to a priest or something. Like I'm not interested in that shit because like whatever that for sure the system overall is corrupt and there's religious figures over there that haven't gotten in trouble or didn't get in trouble in the past, but
yeah,
but still the government's like after these people to some extent, and people the LODM people just say this just to like just to say what about over there, just to point over there and not to point as like very clear problems within their system of beliefs.
yeah. I think, I
Mhm.
think this happens because the members are just um always just been very uneducated, and I don't mean that in a bad, in a disrespectful way, but you know, you got to remember a lot of these members, like, are members that don't really know how the whole court system works. They're really, members who are might immigrated to this country, and it's just not,
Mhm.
they're just not very up to date with like, for example, my parents, they don't know how to go on the website and just look up the whole case and understand how the codes, and how everything worked out with my son. Like, they don't know that, bro. And a lot of members are like that. A lot. Not only that, but even if they did know, they're not allowed to do any kind of research. They're not
Mhm.
allowed to, you know, um, find out for themselves.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say
but
also that like you said, the church has its lawyers, and those people could have been in Jackson's place, but they weren't. And right now, I don't know where exactly, but there's a person in California called Giovanni Chacon. That name could be wrong, but that person
yeah,
is the person who's listed as Nason's defense counsel online. I think, and I bring that up because it could be, well, one day it could be Alan Jackson's name, pops up back on there for some reason, but that guy, we've never heard that guy. I've never heard that guy, writing his name or signing any papers to submit to a court or nothing like that, or even at the press conferences. But not all lawyers are built the same, and I guess just that guy can't do it. And in the future, I really don't. I wonder if it'll be a church member that does that.